Good morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago and Tobago Updates. If you're just joining me, well, that is just a shame because this one we've been having a lot of interesting conversations, starting off with Mr. Attorney Martin George. Then we had Ronnie Thomas, a dietitian here from T.H.A, talking about Salt Awareness Week, and they're having a lot of activities throughout this week. Be sure to check them out at Canaan. On Friday, they are having that open public session. You can go get tested for hypertension and get all the awareness and education that they are giving. And we just had a brief conversation with Barrington Skippy Thomas. And as we conclude this morning's hot topics and conversation, I have to have this conversation with Mr. Curtis Williams joining me again. Good morning.
Morning, Shenell.
You are becoming a staple here, right? Well, I'm happy to have you back. Mr. Curtis Williams is the chairman of the Tobago Division of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce. And we're talking again about what's happening economically here on the island of Tobago. But we can't talk about that without talking about the hot topic, the reshuffle that took place on Monday. Do you have any comments on this?
Well, basically, Shenell, the chief sec in his wisdom can realign his secretaries, assistant secretaries to his benefit. When I look at the realignment, it might be a strategy ploy that they're going to use, that moving people with strengths and weaknesses in various areas to get the ultimate best out of them. We are close to election next year. The election bell will be ringing sometime, and so that might be a move. That might be a strategic move that employed at taking people with various strengths and weaknesses and move them around as the case may be. But my main thing is we want to look at performance. We want to see what the average man on the ground gain for the various divisions across the T.H.A. What the average man have gained in terms of what they have done for the various areas. So that's the performance appraisal we want to look at. So we want to look at each division and what they have delivered per se to the various parts of Tobago going forward.
Excellent. And how do you think that this would impact the business sector here on the island as we see this the reshuffling and restructuring happening within the T.H.A? Do you think that it creates an effective strategy that would trickle down not only to the man on the ground, but also to the business community on the island?
Well, just as you indicated, it might be just an effective strategy to push things forward as we know election is going near. And so we will monitor the situation and seek the development. The interested one is the appointment of a secretary for finance. That's an interesting one. Knowing that the person have to be a councillor or maybe one of the secretaries, I don't know. So I really want to pull that card out the back pocket, so I can see what that secretary for finance, who will be the secretary for finance. If they're going to be another councillor, one of the councillors is going to go, that would be an interesting topic.
Do you have any speculations on who you think that might be?
I don't have a clue, but the chief sec in his wisdom indicated that this will be his last budget. I'm looking forward to that budget speech, Shenell, and that's something that we really have to look forward to. We're looking to see what is there for us. What is there for us, the Tobago people, the business alike. We want to see what's happening there for us, and as we go into the final rounds of governance. So we would definitely be looking with bated breath on that budget speech coming up in June. I think June, July mentioned, and we definitely want to see what's coming out, the outcome of that speech.
And with the appointment of Sonny Craig as Assistant Secretary in the Office of the Chief Secretary, with his responsibility for energy transition and carbon sequestration, do you think that we would see more policies coming out in regards to sustainable energy consumption here in Tobago?
Well, you have noticed that all these Deputy Chief Sec offices no longer there, and everything they absorb into the Chief Sec offices. So that meant that the Chief Sec portfolio now grew significant, and I think he needs as much assistance as possible to assist going forward. We see a lot of things that's bantering around in the space about the economy and energy, etc., and even the development of Tobago itself. And he would need all the support, all hands on deck, to really make this thing realistic.
Right. And do you think that with this new appointment in this particular area, that we would begin focusing more on Tobago's carbon emission and its contribution to overall climate change here in Trinidad and Tobago nationally?
Well, I saw just recently with the e-tender some focus of digitalizing the T.H.A. and that's a real, I mean, forward step going forward. So if the environment now becomes a big concern and we really want to push the environment because it's important for us as a small island, and I think that's going in the right direction. Can't be nothing more than positive in that direction.
So do you think that most of the energy consumption based issues that we faced on the island here would be focused on the Sonny Craig?
Well, that division will place some emphasis on it. We're looking at probably electrifying the buses on the island, maybe even cars. And we need more charging ports, though. As you can realize, there's probably only 1 or 2 charging ports. I think that's Comfort Suite was the only one. So if we want to push in that direction, and again, some of those policies are national policies. The T.H.A. only could give their part, but it's up to the central government to give the overarching and all the things that goes with those national policies. And I think that should be a direction that we should be looking at, because the world is going green and we don't want to be left behind.
Excellent. And I think that should force Mr. Craig to work closely with the central government on these issues. Now, the reason why I would have asked if you think we would see him working on these things is, again, as suggested by Attorney Martin George, there was very little explanation about this area that he's now appointed to, because we have not seen this before in the T.H.A. So one might ask, what exactly is carbon sequestration, and what does that look like for the average man or woman on the ground? How can we really understand what is being done and how it's going to contribute to better energy conservation here?
Well, I think Mr. Craig, in his new position, will be able to rule out something, and probably will get some public awareness. Education is the key, and Shenell, education is the key to all success. And I think he will educate the Tobago public and the business community on his role within the office of the Chief Sec. So we're looking forward to hearing from Mr. Craig on that new portfolio and how we intend to roll out that exciting portfolio in energy conservation.
And I don't want to just graze over the point of that relationship with the Ministry of Energy, and how this role can play into probably even, creating a better relationship with the central government by means of us finding that common ground where our energy conservation and sustainable energy is concerned.
Well, you're correct. Shenell, the relationship between the Tobago Assembly and the central government should be one of a cordial relation. And we're looking forward when the T.H.A. could lift the bar a bit and bring it to that level. It's important because any sort of big development, huge development on the island, we will need central government input. And so we need the both entities to have that kind of relationship moving forward. So I think if Mr. Craig is the first one to break the ice on that one, I mean, we applaud him and we wish him luck in that area. And he could be, just the one to start the thing going, because we need that conversation. The conversation between the Tobago Assembly and the central government is critical to the growth of Tobago. Without that conversation, Shenell, we're stuck.
So do you think if his focus becomes using this area to bridge the gap, in a sense, and forward the conversation and unify us on this topic, that he can perform above and beyond the expectation of many? Because as you heard through my last interview with Mr. Barrington Skippy Thomas, I guess he doesn't expect much out of the role. Do you think that Mr. Craig forging these relationships can help him to truly perform well or function in that role?
Well, let's look back at the oil spill, and we see what a disaster brings. A disaster brings people together, and I see the central government and the T.H.A. were working hand in hand in assisting in that whole disaster that happened there, the oil spill. and there was a joint press conference with the chief sec and the prime minister. Shenell, that was exciting. That was really good. That was eye-opening. That was a breathtaking event. And we look forward to relationships like that. So let's not wait for disaster, because the next disaster mightn't be an oil spill, it might be worse. So let's start the conversation now, and so that we could see what's left. Again, we don't have much time. Next year, the election bell is going to be wrong, and that's it. We're all going to get into election mode, and that will be it.
Right. And from the chamber's perspective, what do you think Tobagonians, especially Tobago business persons, are looking for come next election?
Well, what I see in this space right now, Shenell, we needed a game changer. We're going to have this new huge airport, brand new, probably one of the best in the Caribbean. And we need to fill that airport with airlifts. We need to fill that airport with people moving. We need commerce. We need things happening on the island. So development, we are pause for development. We are pro-development. We are for development on the island. We, the Tobago Division, are for development on the island. So when we talk about development, we spoke about development in context that there must be some conditions to the development. We don't want development and we, the Tobago people, the average man on the ground, don't see the benefits of that development. So education is a key here in Shenell. So we must educate the average man on the ground, knowing that, hey, if development is to take place in Tobago point X, these are the things that you can gain from it. And I'm speaking about the man in the village of Charlottesville, the man in Speyside, the man in Castara. How can I gain anything from a development happening in the West? And then he may be planting, he may be into agriculture, he may be a fisherman. And those are the conversations we need to have with all these entities. That's how we can benefit, how the individual, the man on the ground, Shenell, the taxi driver, the guy who planting, his short crops, how these people, the average Tobagonian can, not the ones who sitting in the fluffy office, but the average man on the ground can and gain something from that development. And we have to educate our people. And when our developers come, we have to ensure our developers see people, the community as part of it, and not just their pockets alone. So the community must be part of the whole gaining. So whether you're going to give back to the community through sports, through foundations, through development of infrastructure, maybe roads, maybe water, the developers can assist in all of this going forward. And these are the things we want to hear, the education of where the development can aid the community.
And many persons have said that there's consensus among businessmen that things are hard. Tobago is hard right now. What advice do you have for businesses to diversify away from T.H.A. based contracts and, help to stimulate the private sector?
Shenell, you said hard. I wouldn't use the term hard. I would say we're challenging. Right? Working in the Tobago space at this point is a bit challenging. Moving away from the T.H.A. purse and we're looking for more private investment as we move forward is a great thing. And these are things that we welcome. Yesterday we spoke to one of the bankers, Merchant Bank, and some merchant bankers in Tobago, and looking for business. So somebody had to be saying something. I don't think Answer Merchant Bank will leave their head office in Port of Spain to come to Tobago seeking to develop business. Something have to be signaling somewhere, somebody seeing something. So, Shenell, we, the Tobagonians, the Tobago business people, I'm talking about everyone must come on board now, and let's see how we can navigate through these challenging times. Not hard times. We're not in hard times at all, because we're smiling and we're fretting. But it's challenging times. Times when we see things that where we have to hold together as one and brace ourselves and move through that's part we're going through right now.
But development is not just for politicians. Development is not just for the administration. Each and every citizen has a responsibility to partake in Tobago's development. What advice do you have for citizens for them to take that step towards stimulating the economy?
Well, the first thing I see is that the people must know what is there for them. So education plays a very important role there. And we at the Chamber, the Tobago Division, we are trying to educate our business folks, our folks on the island, about all that is out there for them to take advantage of. There's so much things out there offered by the T.H.A. and the government that half of us don't know about. And I remember recently a young lady was telling me about her son. He's into sports, and he's looking forward to sponsorship and athletes. And I said, but there's so much things that the ministry has and the T.H.A have to assist athletes, and we just don't know about them. And hence the reason why we ask for education will be the key. Education is a real success. Once you have an educated public, and we're not talking about education only in academia, but other things, just knowing how to get things and how things can develop and how things can move, that's critical. That's very critical in growth.
Thank you so much, Mr. Williams. Thank you again for joining us. It's always a pleasure having a conversation with you guys. Unfortunately, we come to the end of this morning's conversations. It was a pleasure to sit here with you. Thank you for liking, sharing, and commenting. And thank you for making Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am Shenell Felix, and it has been my pleasure to be with you this morning. Have a great day. 1,000 people strong.